Hello and welcome. Today I have for you a build guide of the Arc Lash Sorceress with no lucky hits. That's going to be no ball lightning, no meteor, and the gameplay is going to be very similar to the traditional Arc Lash builds with the lucky hit. We're going to be jumping in with teleport to stun everyone with the unique raiment chest. Then we're going to Frost Nova to freeze everything, and then when everything is crowd controlled, stunned, frozen, we do massive extra damage and blow it up with Arc Lash. Dropping the lucky hits allowed us to focus a lot more on survival and damage, just not needing lucky hit stat on many pieces of gear, and we got a lot of extra legendary aspects because of it. I am going to hop into a level 59, tier 59 key now, and I'll show you a run of a Nightmare Dungeon, and then I'll explain the build and show stats and gear and paragons and skill tree and all that. In addition, in the description, I'm going to have a full build guide for you if you would prefer to follow along in text. So we're not going to bother fighting small mobs. It's just going to be jump in and blow everything up. Jump in, blow everything up. That's pretty much going to be the style of the whole dungeon. We're just going to be looking for big packs. Jump in. You see when we don't have freeze, it can get a little scary. Here's 3 elites. Not going to be a problem. Jump in, CC them, they're all dead. Well, poison can still kill you. Got to avoid that. Having boots with evade charges allows you to use the teleport enchantment more often. See here I don't have Frost Nova, so I'm just waiting for it. Then we'll jump in, Frost Nova, blow them up. You gotta be careful doing too much CC without bursting with Frost Nova, because that can result in you making the monsters go immune to crowd control for a certain amount of time. They gain unstoppable. And it's very easy to do that with Arc Lash proccing stun and teleport proccing stun. Monsters will go unstoppable very quickly. So here we don't have Frost Nova, we're going to wait a little bit. Now that we have Frost Nova, we're going to just jump in with Frost Nova, teleport, stun, freeze, and then kill him. There's always this little game of popping in and out of packs that you gotta play, and you gotta make sure you have both your teleport stun and Frost Nova available. Remembering, of course, that your spacebar evade will function as a teleport if needed. In higher level keys, you can drop the teleport enchantment for the cheat death enchantment from Flame Shield. Here we don't have Frost Nova yet, now it's up, and we're able to kill the pack. Constantly cooldowns are getting reset, we're able to get off a lot of Frost Novas and a lot of teleports on these elites, and you can just really see the build shine with this density. Another well-timed death there. Not a problem. I don't see this dungeon being a problem to clear. I'm pretty sure both of the deaths were to the poison explosions. I just didn't move out in time. You are able to teleport down that. So there at the end, one of the mobs did go unstoppable, and I didn't leave the pack in time for their on-death effect blow-ups. The only time it really gets scary when monsters are alive is when you don't have your Frost Nova and your stun combo. Or if you crowd control them too much and they get unstoppable. So here we don't have Frost Nova and we're about to open a door, so we're just going to wait a second until it's up. And now we're able to solve any big problem that we might encounter ahead. Channeling pylon, one of the best pylons we could get. I'm not going to push too far with it because I don't like it when build guides try to showcase a build and then they're just like, oh, blast wave pylon, artillery pylon, look how good my build is. So we're just going to let this pylon expire and then move on. I did want to show one pack with it though. And as you can see, gameplay loop's very simple. Freeze and stun things, and then blow them up. Now we're coming up to a boss fight. We're going to swap in Arc Lash instead of Teleport, just to allow us to stun the boss even faster and make him get staggered right away. So you can see his stagger bar is filling quicker than his health is dropping, and as soon as he gets staggered, he's affected by all of the crowd controls and we gain massive damage against him. So that's about a 7-minute dungeon run. Sure, we had some deaths, we played a little sloppy, but that's the build. Alright, first things first, let's show the skill tree. 5 points in Arc Lash, of course, 1 in Firebolt just for the enchant, and then you're going to want Arc Lash to attack again when it crits and reduce cooldowns. Nothing in the core tree. And then you're going to take all 4 defensive skills onto your skill bar. You can get away without putting any points in Ice Armor if you get defensive skills on your amulet. Try to get Frost Nova and Teleport as high as possible. You can see I have both at rank 12. And then you're taking the Teleport damage reduction and cooldown reduction, and Frost Nova you want to make monsters vulnerable. That's just a major source of damage. Flame Shield, put as many points in as you can spare. I've played around with this at rank 9 before, and the extra duration is nice, especially when you're using the cheat, the Death enchantment, this Flame Shield enchantment. More ranks will just allow you to survive longer then. And having it heal you for missing life and give move speed, very nice. Also in this tree, the defensive wheel, you're getting at least 2 points in elemental attunement. I've played around with 3. I feel like 2 is usually enough because it does have a 10-second cooldown to where it's going to proc often enough to reset a cooldown. And then Max Glass Cannon, of course, it's just a more damage multiplier. It's one of the most efficient point to damage sources you could get. People who say to drop it for survivability, I feel like you could make up the survivability elsewhere. It's just giving you too much damage. Moving down into the Conjuration tree, we're getting 3 points in Conjuration Mastery, even though we don't use any of the Conjurations. That's purely because when we're in our ultimate and we're casting non-stop, you'll see right now I have 5 buffs of Conjuration Mastery. That's because there's 5 lightning spears out and about. Unstable Currents will summon a random Conjuration Core or Mastery shock skill, and a lot of those conjurations will last the 6 seconds, and that's where Conjuration Mastery is giving us damage. So there with 5 out, we were getting a 15% more damage multiplier. Also in the Conjuration wheel, we're picking up 2 points in Align the Elements. That's just almost up all the time, 40% damage reduction versus elites. We're constantly cycling through these defensive skills, gaining barriers, thanks to protection. 3 points in protection. Every time we use this cooldown, we get a 30% barrier for 2 seconds. So we teleport, we get a 3200 health barrier for 2 seconds, based on our hit points. Moving along into the Mastery tree, we're just going to get the 1 point in Inner Flames that we have to, and then Max Devouring Blaze. That's just going to be a more multiplier for our crit damage. Very nice, efficient damage. Versus burning monsters, you gain more crit damage. Monsters are always burning, thanks to us getting 1 point in Firebolt and then running the Firebolt enchantment. All damage we do just applies a burning dot for 8 seconds, so you don't even have to think about it. And then in the next tree, we're of course getting our ultimate and stable current with the attack speed bonus. We're skipping the crackling energy because we're not going that build with it. And then we're getting 3 more points in warmth and 1 point just to get to it in 2 different skills. That's just going to give us massive life regen when we're nearby enemies. Like I said, we're burning all enemies. This is giving us just 10 enemies on the screen. A couple of them are elites. We're healing for almost 500 or 1,000 health a second. It's just insane recovery. It's super, super value anytime you're fighting big packs of monsters. I could maybe see dropping this if you just only planned on doing bosses, like world bosses or Lilith. But I would definitely keep warmth for doing 99% of content. And then the rest of this tree we're going to fill out with 2 points in Coursing Currents, just stacking crit. Whenever we don't crit, then we crit and it goes away and repeats. It just smooths out the crit a little bit because sometimes you will go on a cold streak of not critting a lot with Arc Lash, and it's just going to basically make sure you get the crit. 2 points in Conduction. You could put a 3rd point here. It's kind of a flexible spot. If you feel like you're not getting your lucky hits enough and resetting barriers, you could take a point out to put it in there. These points are where I would say the flexible points are. Electrocution, however, is not flexible. This is just 5% damage reduction per point. So 15% DR, just very good. If you also play in party, this is going to benefit the group. It's going to be a group synergy. Monsters deal less damage. Very nice. And then Veer's Mastery, no-brainer. We're always close. We're critting with shock skills all the time. This is giving 12.5% more damage and 25% damage reduction. For Paragons, I actually just redid my Paragon tree to something that I'm pretty happy with. We're going up the starter tree, putting control in it, just more damage versus crowd control enemies. And then the first tree we're going to get is Burning Instinct. In Burning Instinct, we're putting an Exploit, because it's one of the only trees. Actually, in this setup, it is the only tree where we are able to get 49 dex, and it gives us vulnerable damage, and that's going to be one of the best sources of damage multiplier, so you want to grab all the dex nodes with Exploit. We're grabbing a few good value rare nodes. These give attack speed, burning damage, and elite damage, and then this is just huge damage reduction in armor. We'll move over to the right first, and this is going to be the Frigid Fate tree. where we get Tactician. Tactician goes in this tree, and we're putting this tree in second because it makes it so we're able to get this 40% vulnerable damage rare node. It's being doubled for having the willpower, and then doubled again for having Tactician. So the 10% goes to a 40% vulnerable damage with the bonus. Just huge. It's a lot like Exploit, why we have 38% vulnerable damage for all the decks. This one rare node's giving us 40, and it really lets the build shine when you get that Frost Nova up and apply vulnerable. The Cold Resist, not so much, but it is just a 20-int node and lets us get these 2 7-dex nodes. So we want to make sure we have at least 29 decks there for the 10% more damage after casting a defensive skill, the top half of Tactician. We're also grabbing 20% vulnerable damage here in the corner. Just being the second tree makes the 350 dex requirement very easy to get, grabbing as much vulnerable damage around it as possible. The next tree we're moving to is the Elemental Summoner tree. This is having to go third and not fourth because of this 450 dex. We barely got it, which doubles the attack speed from 2.5% to 5%, and attack speed scales this build very, very well. Pick up the rest of the attack speed nodes, move on to the glyph, which is Imbiber. I didn't realize how good this glyph was when I first started playing. This 106.9% damage while healthy, let me just show you this, how good it is. You can see here, my attack power, 12.5k. If I take out that glyph, it's going to be roughly cut in half. 6k. So the 106.9% is just straight increase to the attack power, which makes me think maybe it's not working properly, or maybe it is, and it's just supposed to be that good since it has the drawback of you needing to be healthy. But this glyph's effectively doubling your damage, which means that while you're playing, you need to make sure you stay healthy. Your health globe should have this little red glow around it. Even when you have a barrier, you can still see the little red glow around it if you're healthy. So if your health drops, use a potion. Moving on, we are heading up towards the last Paragon Tree, which is going to be the Enchantment Master Tree. And here we're putting in the Flame Feeder glyph. It's a spot where we can get 39 decks. We grab all the dex nodes we can. We take the good rare nodes. This was just a 20%er we can get that we have the int for. Take a Fizz Damage Elite node, and that pretty much finishes off the tree. On our way there, we did grab another Fizz node, and of course, with Imbibler, you get the 54 willpower. I didn't say that, but it's just so much value per point. And, yeah, skills, all 4 defense skills, Arc Lash and the ultimate. Enchantments, pretty flexible. I can use Arc Lash for bosses. I can use Cheat Death for hard content, like 65 to 70 keys maybe. I would definitely want to be using this. I haven't gone too much past 70 yet. And Teleport for easier stuff. This was a tier 59, so Teleport felt pretty good. Just getting 4 teleport charges. And now we'll cover gear. So helmet, you're going to want this imprint, basic skills grant damage reduction. That's going to have to go on Helmer legs. And then the other imprint you're going to want on Helmer legs is going to be the stacking armor. You're just attacking so many times that the armor and this damage reduction are just almost always going to be up. You're almost always going to be at 100 stacks armor, even versus single target. You pop your ultimate, you're just hitting 100 times every 4 seconds. It's just crazy attack speed. For chest, it's tough to beat the Raiment. For gloves, this is going to be one of our 5 offensive powers. The 5 offensive powers I like to use, I'll go over them real quick, are going to be you do more damage to stunned enemies, you do more damage to all CC'd enemies. Each instance of this crowd control currently, I believe, stacks. So if something is both stunned and frozen, you're doing 33% more and then 33% more of that more. It's not just 133, it's disgusting how it multiplies. And then 25% more damage with a barrier, 20% more damage to vulnerable enemies with a barrier, and just 20% more all the time based on primary resource. We don't spend any mana, we're always at full resource. And then the Amulet is the 6th offensive skill that we take, and that's just going to be basic skills gain 45 attack speed. That's the max roll of the Rapid mod, and it's the key to the build. We got to attack fast to reduce our cooldowns, to blow things up in that tiny window of damage we have where they're frozen and stunned. Boots, movement speed, unstoppable, gives more movement speed. I like this one. There's definitely other options. At some point, maybe you could use the crit boots. I haven't found a good enough pair yet. They give you crit chance based on move speed is their unique affix. Now I guess I'll talk about stat weights. I'm pretty sure I covered all of the legendary affixes. For helmet, cooldown reduction, attack speed, and armor, all stats, max life, in that order. I'll kind of just go down the pieces in order. For chest, the only thing that's really important is the stun length. I only have 2.3 seconds after teleport. You would want more than this. If you don't have this chest, try to get a good rare chest that you can make legendary with the power that allows defensives to reset their cooldown on a chance when you take damage. 6% is the max roll of that. It's called Aspect of Unwavering. And then the stats you're looking for on a rare chest would be damage reduction for burning, close, and armor, all stats, life, then maybe lightning and shock damage, and some damage reduction. Gloves, it's just going to be crit chance, then attack speed, then int and crit damage are pretty close, followed by, I guess, all stats and crit chance versus injured. Pants is going to be real similar to chest, damage reduction versus burning, damage reduction versus close, and armor percent, all stats, life, damage reduction, maybe dodge chance. Boots, if you're not going to use the unique boots that increase your crit chance based on move speed, you're going to want a pair of legendary boots with frost over ranks being the most important, because that's how we're putting vulnerable up, that's how we're freezing. You just need it for the build to work. Without it, you're doing a quarter of your damage, if that. Movement speed's probably the next most important. Maybe teleport ranks is close to that. Then it's all stats, and then lastly, flame shield ranks. If you can't get any of those other things besides maybe frost nova and move speed, you'll go for flame shield. Wouldn't be a bad choice. On weapons, vulnerable damage is most important, followed by a mod I do not have on this, which would be the basic attack damage. Then crit damage, then damage versus close. Crit damage with lightning would be up there too. All stats or damage with burning would be good. On your offhand, I have the 3 most important mods on this one, which is cooldown reduction, crit chance, and basic skill attack speed in order. You definitely want high rolls of all 3. I'm even sacrificing my 4th mod just to get those 3 things. If I could pick my 4th mod, it would be basic skill attack damage, or damage reduction versus burning, or int, maybe even all stats, or crit versus injured. There's a lot of things better than this lucky hit slow. That's really only good for helping stagger bosses. Amulets and rings, let's do rings first. Rings are the same, 4 stats, pretty non-negotiable to max damage. You're going to want crit chance, most important. You really want 7.5, I only have it on one of my rings. Then you want vuln damage, and crit damage with lightning. And these rings have all 4 of those stats. If you can't get one of the crit damages, you could do damage with close or damage with burning or life, or maybe just generic lightning damage. But not getting those 4 exact stats, crit damage, vuln damage, you're gonna be hurting yourself. Amulet, cooldown reduction, just as much cooldown reduction as you can get. This is missing a little bit. Defensive skill ranks, those are the 2 most important things. Then you're going to want Devouring Blaze passive ranks, if you can get that. Damage reduction versus close isn't bad, but I would prefer move speed or percent int over it. Really, this amulet is just the defensive skills cooldown reduction, and then kind of whatever else I can take. Percent armor is not bad. There's so many good stats you can get on amulet. But if I had to pick 4, it would probably be cooldown reduction, defensive skills, definitely those 2. Devouring Blaze passive ranks, just to give you more crit damage, and probably move speed is the last stat, or int. And that's going to be the video. Thanks for watching. Subscribe if you like it. And, yep, that's it. Have a good day.